It's time to rip the cover off what really works to ditch addiction, depression, anger, anxiety, and all other kinds of human suffering. No, not sobriety. We're talking the F word here, freedom. We'll share straight from the trenches what we've learned from leaving our own addictions behind and coaching hundreds of others to do the same. And since it's such a heavy topic, we might as well have a good time while we're at it. All right, folks, welcome back to the Alive and Free podcast. Today, touchy topic, Jesus the capitalist? With a question mark. And just so you know, look, the upshot of today is I want you to be able to leave this 20 minutes or so with a new perspective on money and a new perspective on what's possible, and to be free of anything in your mind that might have made money morally wrong in your life. So that's kind of the goal here, but we're going to go about it kind of a roundabout way. So 2 stories. The second one will be the Jesus story. First one is mine, but they're related. See, I have a master's degree in painting and drawing, folks. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. I have paintings behind me right now that I did in school. I got a bachelor's degree in painting. I got a master's degree in painting from the University of Washington. And I loved it. For me, when I was growing up, it was a way to see the world. It really was. It was a chance for me to sit, and it was almost meditative. I could sit and I could look at something and look and look and look and finally see something. And let me tell you, folks, your ability to see what's really there is the determinant of whether or not you're able to draw, but it's also the determinant of whether you're able to succeed in anything else in your life. So I would sit there and I would look and I would draw and look and I would paint. And a lot of people would tell me, man, you're so talented. There's that word. Yeah, you're so talented. I can't draw like that. I can't paint like that. And the reality is that's not true. One, yes, there is a little bit of skill involved, but that's learnable by anyone. The main thing that's missing is vision. The people who say they can't draw are people who, if you showed them a dollar bill and then pulled it away and told them to draw it, they would literally draw a rectangle, a circle in the middle, a funny head, and some dollar signs in the corner. Never mind the fact that dollar signs don't exactly exist on the dollar bill. They would miss all of the ornate designs on it. They would miss the all-seeing eye and the pyramid. They might catch the pyramid. They might not on the back or the front. They might miss so many details. They couldn't draw the dollar bill, not because they lacked the ability to draw. It's because they lacked the ability to see. And what you see is going to determine your ability to do something with it. If you can't see it, you can't do anything with it. And money, too many people see through a lens that is distorted. So I got this view of talents. And see, in the Bible, there's this story, this parable of the talents. Now, I grew up in a Christian home, and we studied these types of stories a bunch. And I also received a blessing from an ecclesiastical leader when I was younger that told me, look, develop your talents while you're young. It's a God-given gift. You need to develop your talents. And when you do, great, powerful blessings will come into your life. So from 2 angles, I had this, an authority figure in my life who gave me a blessing that I believed at the time was very, very, very much a message from God. It guided my life for a long time. It was a really powerful experience for me. And then we had this Bible story. Okay, so Bible story comes in, and here's Jesus, and he's telling this parable of the talents. And he says that this guy, this master of the house, the kingdom of heaven is like unto these servants, right? So he has 3 guys. One of them he gives 5 talents, one of them he gives 2 talents, and one of them he gives 1 talent, and he goes away. And when he comes back, he's going to charge what he's given them, right? So he goes away, and while he's away, the guy with 5 talents manages to multiply them to where there's 10. And the guy with 2 talents manages to multiply them to where there's 4. The guy with 1 talent was super afraid of the boss. He's like, no, I do not want to lose this. It's too risky to lose this. And so what I'm going to do, instead of investing it and doing whatever I can with it and developing these talents I got, I'm just going to hide it under a rock. And when he comes back, I'll be able to give it to him. So the man's, obviously his life isn't bettered by the talent he's been given because he's not using it. He's just hiding it under a rock. And when he comes back, all he has to show for it is the money that he's been given. Good news is, hey, look, the master of the house got what he sent something out, he got that same thing back. It's not like the master of the house lost money on the guy, okay? So I grow up, and the interpretation of this story is literally in my head. Look, God gives you talents. He gives you abilities. He gives you gifts from heaven, and it's your job to develop them. Because what happened in the story? The guy who made his 5 into 10, the master said, look, you've been faithful in a few things. I'm going to make you a master over many things. In other words, you're going to get a whole lot more. The guy who made 2 into 4, you've been faithful over a few things. I'm going to make you master over many things. The guy who had not done anything with his 1 talent, master was like, you should have at least put it in the bank, and then at least I'd have gotten interest, for crying out loud. But because you weren't even willing to do that, I'm going to take this back from you, and I'm going to give it to the guy who has, not the guy who had 4, the guy who had 10. Totally unfair, right? So I grow up feeling like, no, I need to develop my talents. I must be an artist. And I went to school for art. Like, I knew, look, this is a blessing I've been given. This is a gift I've been given from God. I've got to go develop this thing. And so everything I studied in college was around this. I did other things I wanted to do that were way more fun for me. And I loved painting and drawing. But school kind of ruined my artistic bend to a certain degree. I mean, I write poetry now. I'll pick up some charcoal and draw from on occasion. I have a feeling that later on in life it'll come back. But graduate school kind of ruined it for me. I went because I knew I needed to develop my talents. But it was just week after week of professors coming in with these existentially traumatic questions saying, well, what are you thinking about? What are you trying to accomplish? What artists are you looking at? What music do you listen to? What statement are you trying to make? Why are you doing it that way? What styles are you using? And you need to do this and you need to do that. And I was in depression at the time. I was in Seattle, which is not exactly the happiest state in the city in the country for people who are in depression because there's a lot of rain. So I was in depression at the time. I was suicidal. I was in addiction, and I was dealing with people every week coming and telling me I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was doing. My career was going to be miserable. I was a failure and a waste of time to their program and all kinds of other stuff. I graduated. I got some pretty good reviews on my final show. It's not like all went to heck, but I was in that space and I did that, and it ruined art for me. And my wife one time asked me, she's like, well, like if you hadn't done that, if you hadn't felt like you needed to do that in order to fulfill some divine mandate, what would you have done? Like, what would you have studied in college? And I looked her right in the eye and I was like, I probably wouldn't have gone to college. I probably would have found some martial arts master somewhere, and I'd have gone meditating on some mountaintop, and I would have learned things that I thought were cool and just followed my nose in life. All because I felt like I had some moral obligation to take a gift and a skill that I had been given and turn it into something, or else God would take it from me and give it to somebody else. So there was some threat. Now, that's not necessarily what my parents were teaching or what the church was teaching. It's like the way I internalized whatever they were teaching. So it's not their fault that I took it this way, and I hope you guys get that. However you feel like people are teaching you, they may or may not mean it, but it only has an impact on you because of the way you internalize it. Releasing those, there's freedom. So I went forward believing that this story about Jesus was about talents and abilities. And I knew that a talent was a measure of money, a large amount of money in those days, but I just felt like the parable was a metaphor for things. And I left it at that until like literally 6 months ago or something, when I was like, wait a second, Jesus is talking about money here. What? What's going on? He literally is saying, here's some money. To the people who understand what money is and know what to do with it and can double it or more, can go and, like, he's not even talking about incremental gains like in a savings account. He's not talking about like even investment accounts where the highest level is a 30% return. He's literally talking about doubling your money. So 200%. This is where all you entrepreneurs, if you can understand how to do it, like this is a really powerful thing, but you don't have to be an entrepreneur to double your money. You can be smart investments. There's a lot of ways to do it. Okay. Anyway, he doubled the money. And if you know how to do that, then what's going to happen to you is what? You'll get more. More will come to you because you've learned the principles of what it takes to double your money. Same with the guy with 2, which is why they got the same response. The guy with 1, look, if you're just going to stuff your money, that like if I give you money and all you're going to do is hoard it, not even in a savings account, just under the bed, 1, you're not benefiting from it in your life. You're just holding it. And 2, it's not doing it. Inflation is going at a faster rate than your money is. And what's going to happen in the long run is that the people who know how to make money, you'll eventually pay them your money and won't know how to earn it back. And so your money will be taken and given to the people that know how to work it the best. It's a literal description of a capitalist economy. It really is. And was Jesus a capitalist? I don't know. It's not like money was a different thing for him. Yeah, go get it. It's in the mouth of a fish. Go get it if you need it. Not like he's a totally different ballpark. But the description in this parable is literally a description of a capitalist economy. It's Jesus himself telling people about money, that if they know how to actually make money grow, God will give them more. And that's a powerful, positive thing. Yet we grow up believing that the love of money is the root of all evil. And so we don't even treat money with intelligence. We don't focus on it. We don't learn how to use it. Or when we do learn how to use it, we feel like we have to justify ourselves as if it's some moral failing that we're wealthy or we're rich, or we made a bunch of money somewhere, or somebody else made a bunch of money and we feel like it's a moral failing from them, or God is not being fair, or there's some blessings that are being skewed, or they're evil people and it'll come back to them because they're loving money more than whatever, and they are worldly and selfish and I'm not. You're both stuck on money. You're stuck on the underside of it. They're stuck on the overside of it if you're complaining about people who have wealth. If wealthy people are complaining about poor people, you're both stuck on money. You're complaining about being on the upper side and them being on the lower side. So that's a love of money, and that definitely does cause some emotional kerfuffle inside of a person, okay?
If you or someone you know is looking to drop the F-bomb of freedom in your life, whether that's from addiction or depression and anxiety or just anything that's making you feel flat out stuck, but you have no clue how to shake it and just want help doing it, head on over to liberateaman.com and book a call where we can look at your unique situation and give you the roadmap you've been missing.
But here we have this powerful teaching from Jesus that is basically saying, hey, look, if you actually learn how to make money, then you'll get more of it, and that's a good thing. And in fact, it's a good thing that you even get paid from the people who don't know how to work with money. It's totally a good thing. I'm happy to give you their money too, because you will do something with it where they won't. So the upshot here is to help you understand that I don't know what you guys listening, what religious tradition you come from, background you come from. Some of you are very, very devout Christians. I know there's a lot of Mormons or members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that listen to this. There's some Muslims. I know there's some atheists. I know there's some people that that grew up in a Christian tradition or something, or a religious tradition, and have since left. And so some of those ideas are kind of in your head, and you're having to overcome them when you're dealing with making money and earning money, doing a business, what you do with your money, whether it's good to invest your money in yourself or anything like that. These ideas are kind of embedded in there. And I want to give you a moment to step back and see that what some people would call a great moral teacher, others would hail much more Jesus, right? As a savior of the world even. But what some people would, even if you just call him a great moral teacher, his teaching on money here is literally learn how to use it and make a lot of it, because you can do more when you have more. And all this time, I thought he was just talking about talents. Now, the cool thing is there is a link. The more talent and ability you develop, the more you can use that to make money. You can also use that to help other people in emotional ways. You can also use that just because you love doing it and it betters your life. There's lots of ways to use it. You don't have to use it for money, but you can. There is a link. If you develop your capacity, then you can make money with it. But here's a talent that a lot of people aren't developing, and that is the talent of learning how to see and understand what money is, where it comes from, and what it can do in your life, and how to work with it in a way that makes it multiply. These are skills that we let accountants deal with, or we let financial planners deal with, or stockbrokers, or when I was younger, we talked about real estate agents that way, like they would make a lot of money. But it was always, no, keep a savings account. What's a savings account? It's the guy on the low end. He's taking the money and he's putting it in the bank with interest. We're just slightly above him. But the interest that you're getting from the bank is less than 1% most of the time, isn't it? Or I think I got a high yield savings account one time. It was 1.25%, or maybe even up to 3%. But that's still 5% less than inflation, which means you're losing money, but you feel good about it. But most of us are doing that. Put money in a savings account. This is how you work with your money, and then save up and then spend it on other things. That's not intelligent use of money. What it is hoarding it and saving it for a rainy day. Now, that's a wise move, but you also want to do some other things to multiply your money, because then you can save up faster. So it's not saying that it's bad to have a stockpile of money, but it is saying learn how to use it well. We don't know what the guy with 5 did. Did he put one of them in an account and then the other 4 he multiplied and got 5 back? We don't know. We don't know what the one with 2 did. Did he put one of them in an account and then multiply the other and get 3 back from that and then add them all together and they got 4? We don't know. All we know is in the parable, in the teaching, you're looking at somebody who's saying the more money you have, the better you can work with it. And the more you know how it works, the more money you'll get. And that itself is a blessing from God so much that the money of the poor, meaning the poverty minded, not people who are legitimately poor, meaning the people who think poorly about money, will actually come to you because you've learned to think differently about money. Okay, cool. So in the last few minutes we have, let's challenge some ideas about money. And I'm hoping that by now you're already going like, holy cow, maybe Jesus thinks it's okay to earn money. Guess what? He does. Like, could you do more good in the world if you had the means to fund it? People are always telling me like, no, you should give away your services for free. I'm sorry. I tried that. 1, I couldn't feed my family. 2, the people who bought for free the services didn't do anything with it because it was worth 0 to them. And the more they paid, the more they did with it. And then the more they paid, the more I was able to create processes to where now we're feeding several families. We're creating programs that help people in a variety of different places that don't have money. I can create those programs and let them use it because, hey, now I have the means to do it. There's so much more that you, my friend, can do with money when you have it, and especially if you have a big idea in your head that will help humanity and raise consciousness on the planet and, bring hope to mankind, all kinds of good stuff. Money is required, and saying it's free is a misnomer because nothing is free. Somebody is paying for it. If you're going to a free 12-step program, the church that's putting it on is paying for the electricity and everything. People are volunteering their time. That's payment. All kinds of stuff is happening just because, and the materials being printed, that's payment, right? People are volunteering stuff. It's being paid for somehow. There are state-funded programs. That means you're paying for it, but then you believe it's free and it's coming to you in a different way because it's coming through taxes. Or other people are paying for it with their tithing money. Everything is being paid for in one way, shape, or form. So hopefully you're starting to see, you know what? Maybe I need to think about money differently, and maybe it's a positive thing. So what is money? Guys and girls, it's literally cloth paper. It's a bunch of ink printed on cloth paper with some inserts in it and some watermarks and stuff to make it hard to replicate. That's all it is. And nowadays, it's not even that. Bitcoin and all these others are literally ones and zeros on a computer screen. They mean absolutely nothing about your moral well-being. God does not check your credit score when you're entering the gates of heaven. The only reason a credit score is even necessary or even useful is when you're trying to get a loan. That's it. All the rest of your life, credit score is useless. To have good credit is useless unless you're trying to get a loan. So it's nice to keep good credit because in the moment that you need funding that you don't have, you can use that. And hopefully you've learned how to use that funding in ways that multiply it. So when you pay it back, you've also made twice as much and you made some money off of borrowing money. Okay. Learning the skills of handling money is powerful. So this cloth paper, these ones and zeros, how did we get attached to them in such a way that there's some moral thing about them, right? The young rich man that we talked about a couple episodes ago, how did he get attached to it in such a way that there was some moral thing? It's because he felt like it was his identity, that there was something to do with him based on the amount in his bank account. And if you're looking at your bank account and it makes you freak out when it's low, then maybe you have some of that too. Not just survival. Oh my gosh, I'll never survive without money. Baloney. You survived most of your childhood you didn't have any money. Your parents paid for it. If you're listening to this podcast and you have the means to listen to this podcast, there is enough money in the world for you. And the only thing that's missing is your ability to open your eyes and see, which is why I talked about art at the beginning. You have to learn to see what's there beyond what you think is there. If you can get past all these things that you thought about money, and all the crud that you've got in your mind around money being evil or money being hard to make or money being scarce, but there's not enough of it in the world and people don't want to pay me for my services and all this other stuff. And you can get past all that and actually see money that's there, you'll be able to make it. And in making money, what will you be able to do? Pass it along to other people. It's not like it does you any good in your bank account. So having a little bit on hand so that you have expenses, covered and all that other stuff is amazing. But you have to learn to see it for what it is. Money is just a story that we made up in order to be able to exchange goods and services. That's all it is. There is nothing right or wrong about money. There's nothing right or wrong about having little. You're not less than anybody by having little. I went bankrupt and I felt less than but you're not more than anybody if you have a lot of money. I don't have like as much as a lot of the coaches and mentors I've studied under, but I got a lot more than some people make in their entire lifetime sometimes. You know, because there are people in the world that make, like in Brazil, we lived on literally $70 a month. Like, that's not a lot of money compared to what we make now. You know, if somebody here listening to this makes $7,000 a month, that's 100 times what somebody down in Brazil makes. And that's not even a lot of money by today's standards, right? That's 84,000 a year. That's like entry level. In some cases, it's way above a teacher's salary if you're teaching in elementary schools and public schools. But like, it's way more. So there's nothing morally right or wrong about you with money. Jesus' teaching says, learn the principles of earning money, learn how it works, and use it with celebration. And as you celebrate and make more money, more will come to you. And with that money, you can do amazing things on this planet. And you can really help a lot of people out in the ways that only you can help people out. So as we're trying to wrap up today and considering all this stuff around being alive and free, I hope you can free yourself of your limiting beliefs and thoughts around money, around what it is, around how much is possible for you, and around what you can do in order to not just receive money, but then also use it to invest in yourself, in humanity, in your family, and in all the things that would really make life a much more joyful experience for you and everyone else around you. Because ultimately, life is about joy. It's not about money. So that's a wrap for today. Next time, we're going to talk about your concealed carry permit. No, it's not quite about guns, but we're going to talk about it anyway, because I think it will be a very, very useful topic to help you understand what it is that you're really carrying.
And that's it for today's Alive and Free podcast. If you enjoyed this show and want some more freedom bombs landing in your earbuds, subscribe right now at wherever you get your podcasts from. And while you're at it, give us a rating and a review. It'll help us keep delivering great stuff to you. Plus, it's just nice to be nice.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.